Hey, Tara Strong here, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Cinema Geeks. I am one of your Cinema Geeks, Optimus Solo. Joining me today is Hard Candy Meanie. Hello.
Hey.
I almost said your name wrong.
What?
Like I don't know it or something.
I don't know it.
Movie Revolt Dan. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
I did not almost say your name wrong. I don't know what that means there. And Friendly Scent. Hello, Matt.
Hello, hello.
And we are back with another one of our special year-end, year-beginning podcast episodes. You've already heard us go through our 2016 movie awards as well as our top 10 films of 2016. Hopefully you enjoyed those records. And now we're on to the next two, which really start to turn the page to 2017. Today, it's all about box office. So we're going to be looking back at our predictions for 2016 and seeing who holds the crown for 2016. And then we will shift our attention to making predictions for 2017. So it should be an interesting adventure here, as I guess I was unaware. I was so wrapped up in 2016 and so trying to watch as many films as I could possibly watch to do all that. And I knew that we would be doing this box office and then our most anticipated films in our next episode. So I've been avoiding any information about 2017 for a long time. I had no idea outside of a few obvious ones which films were coming out in 2017. And then when we sat down to do this, I was not prepared for how many films and how many franchises and how many big blockbusters, remakes, sequels, etc. are coming out in 2017. It makes the last couple of years even maybe look, I don't know, there's a ton of stuff coming out in 2017 that I guess I was not aware of. Amanda, what did you think as you were starting to look over all the films that were coming out this year?
Box office stuff is always super daunting for me anyways because I suck at it super hard. So I got a little nervous. It did get me excited for, a film going in 2017 though, definitely. And it makes the most anticipated list a little bit harder because if you have to narrow it down, it's going to be super hard.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how many of the films that we are talking about today when it comes to box office may or may not appear when it comes to our most anticipated. Sometimes some of those are the same things, and sometimes it's a completely different set of films. Dan, before we get into the actual results, what do you think your chances are as far as 2016 predictions? Do you think you did well? Do you think you did poorly? What do you think?
I think I did poorly because I know there are two that I did not include that looking back and very much kicking myself, and one being Deadpool and the other being Moana. I don't know why. I thought that one either. I knew why Deadpool wasn't do well because that R-rated. I thought it'd be Kick-Ass. I was completely wrong. Moana, I guess I just underestimated Disney, which is a lesson learned. I'll just say that, which is a lesson learned. So I don't like my chances, to be honest. And looking at because I did do predictions for this year, I like to look at trends from the last few years, and it did a lot worse than they did. I'm like, wow, that's a top 15 movie. I thought that didn't do that well. So I don't know, but I don't like my chances.
And Matt will be in the background for this first section because he was not with us on our episode last year when we made our 2016 predictions. So he's going to be busy with his notepad and pen and paper, jotting down any last-second advice or notes that he hears us go through and where he sees us go awfully wrong or where he sees us make the right choices. Maybe it'll influence his picks for 2017. I don't know. Or he's going to be sleeping or eating somewhere and not paying any attention to us. I don't know. It's up to Matt. So, Matt, what's your strategy here for this first section?
Oh man, none, no strategy. Like you said, I didn't do this last year, but when I did it 2 years ago, my list was so bad. I had 3 movies in my top 15 that didn't make it in the top 50, proving I don't know what I'm doing. Also, I didn't have Minions or fucking the James Bond movies, so what am I doing there? I don't know how to pick these movies. And my maybe section on my spreadsheet, I'm looking at it maybe, but probably not. So I'm looking at my list. I'm not feeling strong about it, but I know that last time I did this, I said every other movie, oh, this is probably the worst choice I made, and I feel more strongly about the ones I've made this time than that time, I guess.
It is interesting too because we always go into this and we think like there's a for sure, like we were saying off the air, for sure 10 or 12 or 13 out of the 15, and then we still always end up each having picks that are not anywhere close. So
one of mine didn't even come out.
You did do that. That mistake has been made a couple times in the past from different people. So let's start with the actual box office from 2016. For those that are not aware, the actual top 15 went like this. Star Trek Beyond came in 15th place, and that made 158. So that was the lowest of the box office. It was 158. We had 2 films that were below 200, everything else above. So looking at our 15 picks, I had Ghostbusters, which did not make the top 15. Dan, you had the BFG, which did not make the top 15. And Amanda, you had Ghostbusters. So we all struck out with our 15th pick. None of those films were in the top 15.
The BFG didn't make the top 50, to clarify, so it wasn't even close.
The Ghostbusters came in at 19th. So Amanda, we weren't too far off. We're only 4 spots different from that, even though it didn't make it.
That's
Dan,
good.
like you said, yes, your BFG came in 58th spot. So that would be a 43 spot difference. So off to a rocky start on Dan's list. Going into the 14th one, the actual box office for 14th, somehow Jason Bourne takes 14th at 162 million, even though it did not get very well reviewed or it didn't seem like it was that popular even when it was out. But that takes our number 14th spot. My number 14th pick was The Secret Life of Pets, which actually came in at 4th. So I underestimated how much The Secret Life of Pets was going to make. So that's a difference of 10 spots for me there. Dan, your pick was Alice Through the Looking Glass, which came in at 38th. So that would be a 24 spot difference.
I'm looking up though. It's improving.
Yes, yeah, you are improving. And Amanda, your pick was X-Men Apocalypse, which came in at 16th. So even though it wasn't in the top 15, you only missed that one by 2 spots. Not too shabby.
I feel like my 16 through 20, if I would have just kind of replaced a few of those in there, I would have banged this list out of the park.
So currently, right now, that's 14 spots difference for me, 67 spots different for Dan, 6 spots different for Amanda. So you're in the lead so far.
Losing, but still winning.
The 13th overall pick last for the actual box office was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Again, we're over 200 million from here on out. It made 229. My 13th slot was Jungle Book, which actually came in 5th. So again, I underestimated a few of these. That's an 8-spot difference for me. Dan, you had this one, at least you had a pick that was in the top 15. So you had Zootopia here, and that actually came in 7th spot. So you only missed that one by 6. So that's a huge improvement over Alice Through the Looking Glass and the BFG. Amanda, you had Gambit.
Which didn't even fucking come out.
So
Which hasn't been made yet, so.
So an asterisk next to Amanda's score here. Her total, when we do this, it kind of gets a little bit skewy here, so we'll go through that in a little bit. All right, so the 12th overall film last year was Doctor Strange at 231 million. All right, I had at number 12 Deadpool, so I picked the wrong comic book film for my number 12 spot. Deadpool comes in at 6, so I'm off 6 spots on that. Dan, you're number 12, Doctor Strange. So you got that one perfect. So no spots.
I win. That's how that works, right?
You're the first one to get one right on the dot, so you win. And Amanda, you had Moana, which is off by 1 spot. So only a 1-spot difference. So far, Amanda, 4 spots difference for Ghostbuster, 2 spots different for X-Men, 1 spot different for Moana. Asterisk next to Gambit.
So I didn't do as shitty so far as I thought. Still not doing great.
All right. So moving on to number 11, like I just gave away, 11 was Moana at 233 million. For my 11th, I picked the wrong animated movie. I have Zootopia. So I was off by 4 spots there. Dan, you had Star Trek Beyond, which, like we said, was 15th. So you're only 4 spots off as well. So we're both 4 spots off with our number 11 pick. And Amanda, you had Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which we'd already talked about at number 13, so you only missed that one by 2. How you feeling?
Crushing it.
So far, Amanda has not missed anything by more than 4, with the exception of what we do with Gambit. So, all right. Amanda, actually number 10 is what screwed you up here. Because if we would have done this 10 days ago, you would have had 5 perfects.
What?
But Sing came out late in the year and has been traveling up the charts. So if it would have been earlier where it was still in the number 13 spot, you would have had 5 perfects. But instead, we have Sing all the way up in our top 10 now at 238 million.
Don't dangle a win in front of my face like that and tell me it's not going to be.
Sing is also a film that none of us had on our list. So nobody's going to get any points for Sing being at number 10. Our number 10s, I had X-Men Apocalypse, which came in at 16th. So off by 6 there. Dan, you had Suicide Squad, which you only missed by 1 point. 1 spot there. And Amanda, you had Doctor Strange, which you're going to miss by 2 spots since we just talked about it at number 12. So another less than 3 spot difference for Amanda. All right, so Amanda threw the first couple picks looking real good. A 4, a 2, a 1, a 2, and a 2. Are you surprised?
This means nothing to me right now, but yes.
All right, because it's about to get ugly for you, just FYI. Our number 9th pick, like we just said, was Suicide Squad. Now we're into the 300 million, so Suicide Squad was 325. I had Finding Dory at number 9 because I'm an idiot, so I missed that by 7 spots. Dan, you had Jason Bourne on your list, so kudos to that. You only missed it by 5 spots because Jason Bourne was number 14 and you had it at number 9. Amanda, do you remember what you had at number 9?
No.
How would you feel if I told you Assassin's Creed?
Not good.
Okay. Assassin's Creed came in at 63rd. So that is a 54 spot difference, which is the biggest miss so far. So Dan, there's hope for us.
Why couldn't we have just done this at the exact end of the year, and then I would have totally killed it?
Because we would have had a lot of information already.
What?
You would have already known what everything makes at the end of the year.
No, she means
nice...
do this list when we had the end of the year box office numbers.
Gotcha.
But I mean, like, then Star Wars wouldn't have been accurate yet, and
yeah, true that.
That shifts everything on the list down 1.
Right.
But I would have won.
All right, let's move on to what actually came in at number 8, which was Batman versus Superman. If you would have told any of us at the beginning of the year that was going to be 8th, I think we all would have lost money. 330 million in the 8th spot. My number 8, again, I keep picking the comic book films in the right spots, just not the right film. So I had Suicide Squad at number 8, missed that by 1 slot. Dan, you had The Jungle Book, so you missed that by 3. Amanda, how do you feel if I tell you at number 8 you had Independence Day Resurgence?
Even worse than Assassin's Creed.
You shouldn't, because Independence Day Resurgence actually came in at 25th. So nowhere near as bad as Assassin's Creed. You only missed that by 17 spots.
It's still real bad.
Dan, how do you feel about Amanda's turn? Do you think one of us has a shot?
Why are we coming in and talking about how shitty I'm doing? Nobody else is getting busted out like a motherfucker.
Hey,
like,
I'm doing much worse.
I was going to say.
I mean, yeah.
I
don't think so, because I think I have Independence Day on my list higher, so that's not a good sign for me.
That may be a true statement. All right, for number 7, overall at the box office, the actual result was Zootopia at 341 million. My number 7 was Alice Through the Looking Glass. So I will join you, Dan, except I had it higher. So missed that by 31 spots. So I will join the group that's making mistakes here. Dan, your number 7 was Ghostbusters, which wasn't in the top 15, but it only came in at 19. So good for 12 spots different than what you had it. Amanda, you're back into the good graces. You had Captain America Civil War. You only missed that by 4 spots. So better than my Alice Through the Looking Glass or Dan's Ghostbusters that round.
But overall, there's another story here.
All right, number 6 overall in 2016 ended up being Deadpool by $1 million. 363 million, which is just less than the number, 1 million less than the number 5 pick. So Deadpool is our number 6 pick. I had Moana, which was 5 spots off. Dan, you had Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which was 7 spots off. And Amanda, how about Deadpool? Right on the money.
Very nice.
No spots off.
No spots off. Love it.
No spots off. So you win that round as well. Number 5 movie overall, like we talked about a little bit earlier, Jungle Book at 364 million. I had Star Trek Beyond, which is 10 spots off. Dan, you had Independence Day Resurgence, which is 20 spots off. We missed on the Jurassic
on the 90s
World.
nostalgia.
Yeah. The Jurassic World effect did not help there. And Amanda, you had Finding Dory, which was 3 spots off. So back into the good graces with a 4, a 0, and a 3 the last 3 rounds. Man, if it wasn't for those 2 films.
And I had in my 16 through 19, I had Secret Life of Pets, I had Jungle Book, I had some of these monies.
Your love for Assassin's Creed and Independence Day threw you off.
Yeah, boy, I was not in a good spot mentally when I made this list, apparently.
All right, number 4 overall number 5 actual results. That's what I just did. All right, number 4 actual results was Secret Life of Pets. $368 million for Secret Life of Pets. A good performance there. My number 4 was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That's off by 9. Dan, your pick was Captain America Civil War, off by 1. And Amanda, Suicide Squad, off by 5. So Dan wins that round. Number 3 overall at the box office last year was Captain America Civil War with $408 million. My number 3 was Batman vs. Superman, so I'm off by 5 spots. Dan, you had Finding Dory, again, off by 1 spot. And Amanda, you had Batman vs. Superman, off by 5 spots. So Dan wins that round as well. Number 2 overall, and in 2016 with $486 million, was Finding Dory. I had Captain America Civil War, that's off by 1 spot. Dan, you had Rogue One, that's off by 1 spot. Amanda, do you remember what you had at number 2?
I don't.
How do you feel if I tell you it's Warcraft?
Oh, yeah, that one. I thought that this was going to be just one of those money makers, that it was going to be, big enough to where it would draw the gaming crowd plus other people in, and I don't think any of that happened.
Instead, you get the prize for the lowest rated film ranked, because Warcraft comes in at number 67. So that is off for you by 65.
What kind of prize do I get for that?
So what kind of prize do you get?
Like a cookie or a high five, maybe?
A low 5.
A low 5. The lowest of 5s.
So off 65 spots for Amanda with her number 2 pick. Let's obviously leaves only the top dog at the box office, which was Rogue One, a Star Wars story, which currently has $502 million. When I checked this earlier in the week, it's probably higher than that, but it is the only one that crossed the 500 million mark. I had Rogue One at number 1, so I got that one on the dot. Dan, you had Batman vs. Superman, which is going to be...
Yeah. About that.
Off by 7. And Amanda, you had Rogue One, which is right on the money. So, Amanda, you had Rogue One perfect, Deadpool perfect. You would have had Doctor Strange, Fantastic Beasts, and Moana perfect if it wasn't for Sing right at the end. But Warcraft, Independence Day, and Assassin's Creed.
Fuck me.
Hurting your chances. Dan, you had a good showing at the end. You had Doctor Strange right on the dot, Suicide Squad, Rogue One, Finding Dory, and Captain America. You only missed by 1 on each of those. So really, your only bad pick was the BFG, and then a couple that slightly hurt you with Independence Day and Alice Through the Looking Glass. For me, I had my worst one was Alice Through the Looking Glass, which was a 31-point difference. Everything else that I had was within 10. So overall, total point differential or place differential, I was off by 107 places overall. Dan, you were off by 135 places. Amanda, you were off by 164 places, and that's not counting any places for Gambit. So
I'm looking at you weird right now because I don't like this.
That'll be good enough for last place for Amanda, second place for Dan, first place for me. But, Amanda, if it wasn't for those 3 films, you would have destroyed both Dan and I. Just 3 misses.
Close but no cigar.
Just 3 misses. All right, so that means Sing was the only film that finished in the top 15 that none of us had on our lists. We had 7 of them that all 3 of us had that did show up. So we all had Rogue One, we all had Finding Dory, Captain America, Batman, Suicide Squad, Doctor Strange, and Fantastic Beasts. We split, so that means at least one person did not have the following on their list: Secret Life of Pets, Jungle Book, Deadpool, Zootopia, Moana, Jason Bourne, and Star Trek Beyond. There was no agreement on those films. So, Dan, given that, how do you feel about 2016, and what does that change or not for 2017?
Let's just say I always trust Star Wars and Disney, and don't trust DC as much. So that's kind of lesson learned for me. Do you know who had, if you were to say who had the percentage-wise 14 out of 15 in the top 15? Like who had the?
Yeah, I had 12 out of 15. You had 11 out of 15, and Amanda had 9 out of 15.
That works. Yeah.
So
Perfect.
I don't like to hear that I'm a loser. Can we stop talking about that now?
Sorry.
Matt, did you learn anything listening?
Don't listen to Amanda's list. That's what I learned.
I was gonna say, like, I've learned that there's one person I can compete with on this podcast, so that makes me feel better about myself.
The only reason why you won last round, Matt, is because you didn't even have one. So
I mean, I feel like
you
that
beat
makes
me by not even having a list.
my
That's
whole
how
list is
bad I am.
Gambit now. Like, that's what I did.
I learned one very important lesson. No matter what, do not take chances on video game films, because Warcraft and Assassin's Creed single-handedly changed Amanda from winning this thing to getting last.
They
So.
never do well, ever.
All right, so how we're going to do this as we shift over to 2017, a little different, hopefully, to make it flow a little bit better for you guys that are listening. We're going to go one at a time, starting with our 15th pick and going up to our number 1 pick. But if Amanda, for example, on her 15th pick, picks something that I have later on in my list, we're going to talk about it right then. Anybody who had that film in their list can talk about it, and then when we get to the point where that would have come up on our list, we'll kind of skip over that, so as to make it not as repetitive as it maybe has been in the past. We'll see how that works. And Matt, since you did not have a list last year, we're going to actually start with you, I think, this time. So when we go to 2017, what is your number 15 pick?
All right, at my 15th slot,
Actually, right before you do that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but why don't you give just a quick summary of kind of your process? I know we all have kind of a different process. Some spend more time, some spend less time, but there's different things that I have seen come up in the past with Dan and myself and everybody else who's done this. At times we go and we look for a previous film that is part of that franchise. For example, this last year when we had X-Men Apocalypse, we might have looked at what X-Men Days of Future Past and First Class did. If there's no sequel situation, sometimes I've seen where we've tried to match it up with a film that's similar to it. And sometimes I think we look at a franchise and try to determine if it's going in an upward direction or downward direction as far as the excitement for that franchise based on the trends that have been going on back and forth. I know we've looked at time of year and what kind of competition it has. So there's a lot of different things that come into this. Maybe we have to have an animated film, or sometimes we think that there's always a comedy, or there's always this that's in there. So how did you go about making your list, and then what is your number 15 pick?
Oh man, I think you hit it on the head. It's all about looking at the franchises. Of my top 15, depending on how you word franchise as a definition, they're all franchise films. There are only 2 that you could really make an argument aren't. Well, maybe 3, but I don't like. So it's like I opened up the last 7, I think, years on Box Office Mojo, saw what was in the top 15, saw where certain things placed every year. It was as much about how much they made as it is about where they placed in their years. Because sometimes, like a number 3 might only be a 250 million, and sometimes a number 3 can be like 400 million. So it's about placement more than it is about hard cash. Because I imagine everyone's spending about the same every year that they spend every year, so something could not make nearly as much money as the last one in the franchise, but still be in the same slot, especially with a Star Wars 8 coming out. So yeah, really, I just looked at each franchise and saw where the trend was going, and some of those trends are insane, and that's what I did. I think I wanted to make sure I had at least 2. You always gotta have at least 2 animated movies. Last year I feel like was weird with its 5 animated movies in the top 15. But I made sure I got 3.
Okay.
So then I guess from there I'll lead into my number 15, which is Pitch Perfect 3. It's a possibility. It's not a possibility. I'm not quite sure. The first one made barely money, but then the second one exploded. And I don't know why it exploded, and I'm not enough in that circle to know, like, what the buzz is about it, but it was, not even 2 years ago. So if the hype was there then, it's probably there now. And so I figure it's, the last one made 180, so that's real close to a top 15 pick. It was probably 12th in its year even. So that's what I went with.
All right, Pitch Perfect. The third one, that was a hard one for me because like you said, such a huge jump from the first one to the second one. And I know the first one had crazy, DVD sales and rental, that type of thing. So I think it kind of built the buzz for that second one a little bit. I could not decide, though, based on that, if that buzz is still around or if it's kind of had its moment in the sun and now people will be done with it. So I kept it off of my list, but I definitely was considering it. I just can't predict. I don't know if it's going to make 100 million or more. So
how's Anna Kendrick going to be in this one because she's not even in college anymore?
I'm sure she'll come back and be a judge or a coach or something. I haven't read the plot synopsis, but it does still have Haley Steinfeld and Anna Kendrick and at least one of the other girls that was in the other one. So there is some
probably Rebel Wilson.
Yeah, Rebel Wilson's in it.
So some continuity there. I kept it off my list. Amanda, did you have Pitch Perfect anywhere?
No.
Dan, what about you?
No, I thought about that too, but it's coming out in the end of December too, so part of me thinks it might not even come out because I haven't heard much about it. So I don't know. It was challenging. It was one of my drafts that was on my top 15, but I kind of went in a different other wild card way with my first two choices.
All right. So Amanda, what was your criteria and kind of what did you weigh in when you were trying to make your choices, and what had more of an impact versus less of an impact for you?
Last year, I was kind of like, what do I want to do well? Because I'm probably going to like that movie. And that really didn't go so well for me. This one, I tried to be a little bit more thorough and go through the research that Kevin gave me, because Kevin did the research and I did not. And I like that. So I just get the info that he's already compiled, and then I just go through and I try to kind of go on my gut, and then we talked about trends and what previous movies in the franchise have done, and to see if there's a downward or an upswing in the profit there, and also trying to make sure that I'm not getting too many movies coming out at the same time that will probably be competing, things like that.
It's an interesting calendar this year for when there's not much competition and when there's a whole lot of competition. So what did you have at your number 15?
This one I was kind of unsure about, but hopefully the buzz from the first one is still there, and I'm going to go with Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
All right. Why Kingsman?
I just think that it was kind of really bombastic and had some fun, moments and players involved. So hopefully they can kind of continue that and make a solid movie. I'd see it.
The first Kingsman made 128 million, and Amanda thinking it's going to have a little bit of an uptick from that. It would probably take at least 150, 175 at the minimum to get in the top 15. So a little jump for Kingsman, but that did get good reception and a lot of buzz. I don't have Kingsman in mind just because of the massive amount of films that I think are going to make money this year. I do think Kingsman's going to be more than 128, more than what the original one did, but I don't have it making quite enough to make my top 15. Dan, do you have Kingsman on your list?
I do not.
Okay. Matt, what about you? Kingsman anywhere?
No. Maybe in the top 20, but I did not put it for the top 15.
All right. So a little diversity so far as we've started the list. Dan, what was your strategy this year, and did you have any rules that you had to have X number of, let's say, animated films or anything like that, or what was the process like? Is it the same as you've done every year, or did you switch anything up?
I switched a little bit up because I think I went less with franchises and paid more attention to the studios putting things out. I'm like, okay, you can kind of look at these studios, you can always trust them, and even if the movies aren't great, they tend to do this well. Also for ones that okay, you need to show it to me before I do a Batman v Superman again and put you at number one. So and also I kind of arranged a lot. I would usually try to arrange them in the order I think that we're going to show up. This year I which may sound the same but different, was I tried to arrange them based upon the most faith I have that there will be in the top 15 in some way. And then I looked at ones where I thought, okay, these are predicted to be in the top 15, but I try to find the ones that the Alice Through the Looking Glass that happened last year, the ones that could do well or could do poorly and take those off the list and to trying to find the wild cards. So that's why I have 2 wild cards in my top. Really, well, maybe 3 arguably, but my first one, I don't know where to put this, and maybe this is wishful thinking. It could end up being in the top 15. It could end up being like not even in the top 100. But I'm going with Blade Runner 2049.
All right.
Blade Runner is a very iconic science fiction movie. It's the sequel's been talking about forever. It has the Gauze, Denis Villeneuve coming back to direct, and he's having quite the hot streak. So maybe this could be the Mad Max of this year. So it could even do better than this. But like maybe it could be one of those like Independence Day resurgence of this year and be awful and no one talked about it. So I put it at 15 because I wasn't sure where it would land. So I thought maybe there was a possibility. Maybe it's one other people won't have. So that's why I put it at 15.
It's a hard genre to predict, I think, and whether it's going to be something that's more like a cult favorite or a classic amongst the fans, or if it's something that's really going to appeal to mass audiences. Obviously, Denis Villeneuve and Ryan Gosling are both on a hot streak. I didn't realize Batista is going to be in this. But Batista and who else did I say?
I didn't know that either. I need to put it up higher now.
Batista and do you remember who the other person I said was in this?
Harrison Ford?
Well, yeah, Harrison Ford, obviously, but there's another supporting cat that's a big name that's in this as well that I was not aware of at the beginning that he was going to be in this. So, yeah, this is a tricky one for me because I don't know if it's just something that our generation or if it's going to be could be the same like you said with Mad Max. It could be something that really catches fire. Amanda, do you have Blade Runner on your list anywhere?
No, I don't.
Matt, how about you?
I don't. I'm interested to see it, but if we're banking on it being like Mad Max, that wasn't top 20 that year, even though it was clearly the top 2 best movies that year.
True. Good point. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't have Blade Runner either, Dan, so you did succeed in finding one that you will get points on alone if it makes the top 15. For my 15, this is why I do research more than once, because I didn't even have it on my list when I did like the first or second draft of my picks, and then in doing some more research I saw that it came out, and maybe it's just because of my disdain for the franchise overall, but I'm not going to completely ignore how well the other 2 films have done. But man, when you get to the third film in a series, it to me gets so much more riskier, because it's like sometimes that's the point where stuff trickles out and kind of just loses the luster that the first or second one have, and there's not as much interest in it. But we have a lot of people out there that don't. Well, I'm not going to slight anybody that might be listening, but there's a lot of fans of this franchise. I don't understand it, but I'm going to put Cars 3 at my number 15, just because the first 2 Cars movies made 190 and 240 million, and I didn't have it on my list to begin with, but I feel like I would be foolish not to have it sneak in somewhere. So I'm going to put it at 15. It's an animated movie, so there's a chance it's going to make it. So I have Cars 3. Amanda, did you have Cars 3 anywhere?
No, sir.
Matt, Cars 3 anywhere?
Yeah. Actually, at my 13. You're saying 15. I'm sure you're looking at Excel, and you're actually one off because you have the list numbered at the top. But
well,
yeah.
For me, it's 15. Yeah.
Oh wait, are we? We're still.
I haven't gone yet.
Oh wow. I feel like we've been going for forever. Yeah, I have it at my number 13 because all of the Cars movies have done around 200 million. So like that's really low actually at 13, 15.
All right. Dan, did you have Cars 3 anywhere?
No, I did originally, but that was one I thought I looked at kind of like Monsters University, which I know did decently well. I was trying to thought maybe it would. It was one like I could see being in 13, or I could also see not making it at all, and
right.
I don't know. So I took a chance and didn't include it, and I'm still. It'd probably be number 16 for me, but I maybe it's wishful thinking. I don't know.
I think honestly for me 14 through 17. I could have interchanged so easily. Like it's so hard for me to distinguish between 14 and 15, 16, 17, those 4 picks. So it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out with you guys at this end of the countdown as it becomes a little bit more predictable the farther we get along. Matt, what was your number 14 pick?
My number 14 pick was War for the Planet of the Apes. It's same thing as Pitch Perfect 3. The first one did okay. The second one did real well. So maybe the third one will do really, really well. Maybe the third one will be somewhere between those. And if it's that second choice, 14 is probably a good spot for it. I haven't even seen the second one, but the first one was amazing, so I don't know why it didn't do better. So that's where I'm going to put this one. I don't think I'm nearly as excited about it as I was for the second one, and I didn't even see the second one. So that's why
you
it's
need
at
to see the second one.
Yeah, that's what I think I've been told a few times.
Probably by me.
I mean, you were the reason I saw the first one, and you weren't wrong about that, so I can't fault you there.
All right, I am going to be with Matt on Planet of the Apes. I have it actually a little bit even higher. I have it at number 11 for my pick. Man, I hope it does. This is one for me that I feel like the longer the series goes on, it only helps because more people become aware of it in this situation. And it's also gotten pretty decent reviews with the first two films, so I feel like this should be one where the franchise is still on an upswing with more people discovering it, more people catching up, and more people at the point where they're going to be able to go see this one in the theater. And
this one's got Woody Harrelson in it, too.
You stole my thunder. I was just going to say, and it's got Woody freaking Harrelson in it, so that's got to sell a couple tickets, right? Amanda, Planet of the Apes on your list anywhere?
Number 9.
Number 9 for Amanda. So far, 3 of us with Planet of the Apes. Dan, is it going to be all 4?
It'll be all 4. It's number 14 for me as well, so...
All right, so Matt and Dan in the same mindset with Planet of the Apes. Dan, what was your thought process with Planet?
I love the movies. I feel like they're the most universally adored blockbuster franchise we have right now. I feel like, I mean, outside of comic book films, like I don't really hear anyone saying anything bad about them, and I think that they look great. The trailers have been amazing. So
that's because if somebody said something bad about them, they'd be wrong.
True.
It is interesting though what they've been able to do with the. I'm sorry to interrupt you. With the human actors that they've put in there, because this is now going to be the third different, obviously, person that they're leaning on in a way. We had James Franco, and we had I always forget his name, the guy that was in the second one, Jason Clarke.
Jason Clarke.
Yeah, so now going to Woody Harrelson is interesting that they've been able to do that and still maintain some strength. But what were you saying?
Yeah, and like you mentioned, and they're quickly adored. I for some reason I don't know why they don't do better than they do. Maybe it's just because of the being about monkeys. I'm not sure, but it's I think it's a pretty safe bet. Like I don't see it doing much better than this, but I would hope it would. But where a lot of, like we talked about with the third installments, a lot of franchises. I think this one is going to I think we'll see a steady increase with this as long as the quality keeps where it's been.
It will have some competition when it comes out in July. It's coming out July 14th, and that's only a week removed from a pretty big blockbuster coming out. So we'll have to see if that affects anything. But all 4 of us with Planet of the Apes. Amanda, that means you're next with your number 14 pick.
This one, little leery.
We're hoping for Assassin's Creed, that version of 2017. What do you got?
Might be. I'm going to go with Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, all the way down at number 14. What's your thought process there?
I think Batman vs. Superman did okay, even though everybody freaking hated it except for me. Seeing the previews and stuff really got me excited for seeing more of her, because I wasn't super impressed with her in Batman vs. Superman, but seeing some glimpses of her in her own movie, I'm really excited to see her in that role, and I just really want this universe tied together. So I'm a little sad that it's not Aquaman coming out instead of freaking Wonder Woman, but I get it, and I'll wait.
Is anybody else playing the DC roulette game here with trying to predict what DC films are going to do? Anybody? Matt, do you have Wonder Woman on your list somewhere?
Absolutely, and it's not a roulette, because if you consider this I don't know, shared universe, the lowest grossing movie was $290 million. They're shit movies, but they make money. Like, there's just no arguing it. I put it at number 12. I think it's going to do even better than she says. And honestly, I think it's, of all of the movies I've seen from this universe, the only one that looks promising from the trailer. Other than maybe the first Suicide Squad trailer, which looked pretty good.
You don't think Aquaman looks dope?
Have you
seen his ass coming out of the water yet?
I don't think I have, actually.
He looks like the most badass thing that has ever been on the planet, on land or in water.
Ooh, I don't know though. Have you seen was it Conan movie that Jason Momoa did? Like,
Yeah, no, he's more badass than that. Like, he's walking out of
it's
the
a
water
trident.
with his shirt off, completely tatted up, and, like, there's clips of him in, like, just chugging some rum out of a bottle, I'm pretty
We
sure.
need to calm Amanda down here.
I'm getting the vapors.
I don't disagree with you. I just haven't seen it, so I can't comment.
My thing is not, Matt, you bring up DC and that they do all make money. I don't think it's that they're going to make money. It's where you place them, because like Dan can tell you, we had a lot of people have Batman versus Superman pretty high on their list last year, and it ended up only coming in at number 8, and that was a movie that for years was supposed to be the movie of the year. You know what I mean? It was no way that wasn't going to be 1 or 2, and it ended up down in the 8th spot. So now it kind of calls into question not just that these movies are going to make money, but how much and where are they going to fall. So Dan, where is Wonder Woman on your list, if it is?
It's at number 12 as well for me. Apparently Matt and I copied each other without realizing it.
I'm in good company.
It does look good. The trailers do look promising, but so did Suicide Squad, and like I'm just not trusting it to do better. It might do better than that, but DC has to prove it to me before I put it up any higher than that. So that's why I put it at 12. I had to go in the top 15 someplace, but you would think for DC, a film like this would be in the top 5, or top 10. But if Batman v Superman is not even cracking that, or is only a number 8, makes me think maybe Wonder Woman won't do as well. So it'll still make money, but maybe not till like at Marvel level.
Well, I wasn't expecting it, but I'm going to be the highest ranker for Wonder Woman, I guess, because I have her all the way up at number 8. I don't think it's as much as trust in Wonder Woman as it is in my lack of trust for a few other franchises that I think are on a downward sweep, or I think are going to be nearing the end of their money-making days, or at least not at the height of their money-making days. So I think that is what played into Wonder Woman climbing up to the 8th spot for me. Man of Steel made $291, like Matt was saying, these have all made some money. I have Wonder Woman right around the 250 mark, and I think that's going to be good enough for top 10. So hopefully I'm right, because I would like to steal a few points from you guys that have it a little bit closer to your 15 spots, or 14 and 12, I guess. But we'll have to wait and see. So that means it is my turn for my number 14 pick. Another wild card here. I did not realize, and not that they're any way connected whatsoever, but I did not realize that the last time this character had a kind of solo film back in 2005 that it made so much money. It made $218 million back then. That was the last time we saw King Kong on the big screen, like in a feature way, unless I'm forgetting a film. Maybe I am, because I've never been a big follower of the King Kong franchise or series. But Kong Skull Island is coming out this year, and I think it's going to be probably a terrible movie and probably reviewed pretty poorly. But it's got a lot of big names connected to it. It's King Kong, and for some reason that apparently makes money. Like I said, $218 million back in 2005. So it's got to make at least somewhere around that this year. I have it making maybe 190, something like that. So for me, that's going to be good enough for 14th with Kong Skull Island. Amanda, Kong making your list?
Yes, sir. He is coming in at 13.
So not too far off. What was your thought process?
It's got the Hids, Mr. Hiddleston's in it, and I like him. So I'm kind of banking on that and his star power. And also just looking at I don't know, I already used this word, but I gotta use it again, bombastic nature of, all the craziness is about to happen in this. I think that if it can come through, I think it can really be a good film.
All right. Matt, do you have King Kong anywhere on your list?
No, I didn't even look up the old ones of King Kong. I just thought about Godzilla and how that didn't do too well, and is supposed to be kind of a shared franchise. It was just a little bit ago. That might have been a mistake.
Well, he was not on my radar, and I didn't think so either. But when I looked that other one up and saw that it made over $200 million, I was like, it really did? Like, even back then, people were excited about that. And now, visually, it's on a different level, so maybe people would still be excited? I don't know. It's kind of a wild card for me. Dan, do you share the enthusiasm for Kong Skull Island, or do you think it's going to be a flop?
I think it's going to be a flop. I know the other Kong did, but I feel like that was more of a was also Peter Jackson, and we were still on the Lord of the Rings high. So I think that kind of accompanied it more so than the character itself, maybe. But then again, it's only, that was 10 years ago, and I think the last time there was a Kong movie before that was in the 70s. And I also think the previews don't look all that great. So that's what has me a little bit worried. So I didn't rank it in my top 15.
My first risk for my Alice Through the Looking Glass pick here this year. So, all right. That means, Dan, we already talked about your number 14, Planet of the Apes. We've already talked about Matt's number 13, which was Cars 3. Amanda's number 13, which was Kong Skull Island. So, Dan, that brings it back to you for your number 13 pick.
My number 13, I'm going to go with another one that I know it could be it's a risky choice because it's brand new, and it's been another movie that's been talking about forever. I think when we first started doing this way back when whatever it was called 3 names ago, it was a movie we talked about, and it's finally coming out, and it's Dark Tower. Hopefully it comes out this year. There have been pictures of it, so they're filming. And
it's supposed to be July 28th.
Yeah.
So we'll see if that happens.
So it's coming out. They need, Hollywood desperately needs another big hit to kind of, a lot of these movies are coming into an end. These franchises are starting to go away. They need something to come in and take its place. It's got a Stephen King novel that has a lot of fandom, not a huge amount compared to some of this other stuff, but I don't know. I just think that it might have a shot at being the next big franchise. It's really unknown at this point, so I was just trying to find something that has a possibility along with Blade Runner. So that's why I put it at 13.
I hope you're right, Dan. I hope something like that does succeed in a big time way and not just kind of more of like a smaller cult following. I hope it is as successful as you're projecting it to be. Amanda, do you have Dark Tower on your list?
Oh man, I was thinking about it, but I just couldn't commit to any spots. So no.
All right, Matt, Dark Tower, make your list.
It didn't make my top 15, but I will say that the Gunslinger, the first book in the Dark Tower series, is in my top 3 favorite books of all time. It's one of the few books I've read more than once, and I'm not excited about this movie just because, I'm always worried about adaptations, but I will probably try to go see it.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see how Dark Tower ends up doing. That means it's my turn for my number 13th pick. Oh, man. This is one of those that I feel like the franchise is on its final peg leg, no pun intended there, but I can't also deny what the previous films have made, so this is where I will put Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. 240, 309, 305, 423. Those movies make money. I just don't know if it's too far separated from the last one and people are done with it. And with all the nonsense going around, obviously, with Johnny Depp, et cetera, if that'll affect it. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know if the amount of time that's been off will help or hurt it. I think this has the potential of being a flop and dropping that franchise kind of out of existence, but maybe it has one last ride on it. So I have it right at the 200 million mark, and that's going to be good enough for me for number 13 for Pirates of the Caribbean. Amanda, what do you think?
I've got it all the way up at number 5. I think that they're all solid films. They kind of have the same feel, but I'm okay with it. And I think that a lot of awesome stuff happens. I think the effects are top notch. I think that all the actors they get to jump in on these films are all grade A amazing. And I think people are, they still love Johnny Depp. I mean, he's probably a piece of crap in real life, but he makes solid movies and people still like him. So regardless of all his awkward speech nonsense that happened at the People's Choice Awards last night that we watched, I still have faith in this last Pirates of the Caribbean installment.
Do you think Mr. Javier Bardem is going to have any ticket selling thanks to him? It's going to bring any more fans along?
Let's hope so, because his character looks pretty crazy. I mean, he was kind of weird, and I couldn't tell if he was like a real bad guy or if he was kind of I don't know, just odd. But I think that he's definitely a solid actor, and I think that he could bring some life to it if he has some good direction.
All right, Dan, are we crazy for including Pirates of the Caribbean? Do you think it's already had its last ride?
I originally had it in my top 15, and then that and Cars 3 were the 2 I removed and put in Blade Runner and Dark Tower as ones I thought I could maybe gain some ground on with people. So I think it's tricky. I think maybe it's similar to the thing I kind of compared it to was like Alice Through the Looking Glass. It just could be one movie too many. It's on a downward trend. People, I think, kind of are over Johnny Depp at this point. But maybe I'm wrong, and it could be huge again. Who knows? So I think the trailer has actually been pretty good. I think they've been marketing it pretty well. But
Dan, which studio makes this film?
That'd be Disney. So.
Uh-oh.
I gotta hope that Disney comes through for me here. But I agree. I think you bring up a point, though, or we kind of bring up a point with this film as a good time to bring it up, that there's so many. It's not just that there's a lot of franchise movies. There's a lot of franchise or those types of property films that are on like their 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th film this year. So it becomes really hard to decide at what point do they kind of fizzle out, at what point do they lose their luster, and there's probably 4 or 5 of these types of franchises that we're dealing with this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how everybody ranks those and how they actually end up. And Pirates of the Caribbean is just one of those, similar to Cars 3, and we'll probably hear of a couple other ones still to come that are way later on in their lifespan. We'll have to see if they can keep it going or not. Matt, did you have Pirates of the Caribbean anywhere?
Oh, absolutely. I have it at number 6. The lowest grossing movie was 5th for its year. I think, the time probably doesn't help, but at the same time, it's like, you guys are saying downward trend, like, over one movie. The movie before it was, like, the highest grossing in the whole franchise. I think this one looks more like a return to form, which is actually not what I liked, because I think the previous one might be my favorite, just because it was so off the rails and so dumb the whole time. I was laughing my ass off. So I'm actually less enthused about this. I've seen every Pirates of the Caribbean from like the second one on in theaters. I don't think I'll miss this one, but I am less enthused about it over the last one, but I think it'll do well.
All right. So our 13 picks there were Matt had Cars 3, Amanda had Kong, Skull Island, Dan had Dark Tower, and I had Pirates of the Caribbean. Our 12 picks for Matt and Dan have already been revealed, which would be Wonder Woman for each of them. Amanda, what do you have at number 12?
I want to see your Wonder Woman, and I'm going to raise you Justice League.
In 12th spot. Explain yourself.
Explain yourself. I just think that bringing in all these other characters is going to give DC a chance to showcase what they're trying to do with this universe and learn from their mistakes with Batman versus Superman, and everybody's complaining. And
I don't think you have to sell yourself on Justice League making money. I think you have to sell yourself on it not being higher.
Higher than 12?
Yes.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Because I'm freaked out.
Batman vs. Superman has scared you.
Yeah, I'm freaked out about people's reception to this based on everybody's total fucking bitch fit freak out about Batman versus Superman. It's okay, Matt, we're cool. We've already been over this. But everybody else in the world, I don't know how they're going to receive this, and I'm probably gonna freaking like it. I'm stoked, and
I don't even know if I'm gonna go see it. I hate Zack Snyder at this point that much.
I don't even know what to say.
You could come with us when we go see it, Amanda.
Thanks, because I probably will need to. I'll go see it by myself. I'm gonna look.
Matt, you seem to think it's going to be a little bit higher. Where do you have Justice League?
Oh, I've got it at number 4. Yeah, number 4. Literally, my note is this series is terrible, but the lowest grossing movie is still $290 million at Man of Steel. So like, it's got Batman and Superman again, and Batman v Superman was terrible, but like, as much as the critics hated it and the people that like comic books hated it and anyone with a brain hated it, like the masses tried to sneak that in. No, the masses loved it. And it's gonna do well. Like, I can't imagine it doing not well. Which is sad. I just hope it is good. That's all I want. I want DC movies to be the best movies because DC is my favorite comics. So, like, I just want them to do well. So I'm hopeful, but, we'll see.
This is the one that it's like, how do you judge this after the lesson that we may or may not have learned from Batman versus Superman? This is a film that if you were talking about it years ago, Justice League, everybody would have it in the number 1 or number 2 spot. I'm scared because of Batman versus Superman, so like Matt, I'm going to put it at number 4. I think it's going to drop down into the 4th spot. Dan, what do you think?
I have it at 10. Kind of split the difference a little bit. I think the trailers look awful, to be honest with you.
Still has the same director, so.
Still has the same director. It's been pushed back a bunch. Like, it was supposed to come out earlier this year, and it just seems like it's a mess. And say if Wonder Woman isn't a good movie. Not saying it's not going to be, but there's always that potential.
It's already been talked about that there's already the same type of disconnect on the set that they had with Batman vs Superman. A lot of those things being repeated so far in Wonder Woman.
So if it's not a good movie, it'll probably do well, but maybe that hurts it a little bit. I mean, it didn't necessarily beat Batman vs Superman. Didn't the negative reaction didn't seem to affect Suicide Squad, but who knows? So it's obviously going to be in the top 15. But if Batman, I had Batman v Superman at number 1 last year, so maybe this is just a little bit of overreaction on my part, putting it at 10. But I feel like Batman v Superman was a bigger name. Like you have the biggest icons in all of comic book history in the title of your movie, and you only did as well as it did, which it did really well. But it's it got beat by Deadpool, so that's saying something for both of those movies. So that's why I have it at 10.
What I don't understand is why they're not introducing these individual parts before they put them together in Justice League. Like, wouldn't it make more sense? They have no patience. I don't know.
They didn't learn from Marvel. They want to do it their own way. Don't tease me
with this shit and then make me wait for more in-depth stuff. And that's exactly what they did with Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We kind of split here. Amanda and Dan with the 10th and 12th spot, and Matt and I at the 4th spot. So we have to see where it falls. My number 12 pick. Let's keep it in the comic book realm, and let's go with Thor Ragnarok for my number 12 pick. Comes out November 3rd. I'm banking on this one actually being an upward trend for Thor. The other ones made 181 and 206. I'm thinking that this Thor will make more than any other Thor. I just think that the hype is bigger surrounding it this time than it was for either of those two films, and I think people are ready for this film. So I'm banking on more hype for this one than the other two. Also coming out in November, it's kind of tricky because it's only about 2 weeks before Justice League comes out. So it should have a solid 2 weeks towards the holiday season that it reigns supreme. But then you're going to have Justice League, and then there's another film coming out in December. So it might not have the long shelf life. So I'm hoping it just makes a crap ton of money in those first 2 weeks. I have it making around $210 million. So for me, that's good enough for 12th on my spot. Amanda, any love for Thor on your list?
I got a lot of love for Thor, but we're going to put him at number 8.
Not Chris Hemsworth.
He's Thor to me, okay?
All right, so why up at number 8 for you?
I think that, after Avengers and all the exposure that we've gotten to him since we've had the last Thor movie, I'm hoping that people will be more receptive to this. And I just think that the every time that we get to be involved in a Thor movie and get to see that side of the galaxy or universe or whatever we're going to call it, that realm, I really dig it and I have fun, and I'm hoping this one is better than the other two, which I really liked.
Matt, what do you think about Thor?
I got it at number 11, because that's right where the other ones were. I don't know that it's gonna break the 200 million mark, but at the same time, I don't know what to think about the Thor franchise, because I thought, they're clearly story-wise the weakest links in the Marvel chain. I wasn't super enthused about the second one. That said, I feel like in every Marvel movie, the third one's been the best, so maybe I could be wrong.
All right, so you and I are very similar with 12th and 11th. Dan, are you close to us, or are you closer to Amanda at 8 or even higher?
Apparently, I'm just copying Matt because it's at 11 for me as well.
Thumbs up, Dan.
Also, big part of this is Hulk is going to be in it this time. Right. And, so I think that's going to, be a big factor for it. It's a Marvel movie, so it's going to show up in the top 15. The question is where. And I put it in one spot ahead of Wonder Woman mainly because I feel like it's probably going to be better reviewed. And it has more of a track record. And, it'll be kind of a fun little buddy cop movie with Thor and Hulk, which I think people will enjoy.
Also a director that's on a pretty good run with Taika Waititi. Good film in 2015, good film in 2016. Let's hope he can make a good film in 2017 as well. That means we all went superhero with number 12. We had Matt and Dan with Wonder Woman, Amanda with Justice League, and myself with Thor. A bunch of our 11 picks have already been given away. So 11, we have Matt had Thor, Dan had Thor. This is where I had Planet of the Apes, which has already come up. Amanda, that means you're the only one that has not revealed your number 11 pick.
We're going to kind of keep it in the comic book realm. I'm going to go with Lego Batman.
Lego Batman. First time that's been mentioned. You have it at number 11. Give us your thoughts.
I think it looks super freaking funny. I don't think the other made what about around 200 million or something like that?
257, the Lego movie.
Yeah, and I just think what I have farther up, hopefully is gonna make more than that. So I think it'll do solid. I mean, top 15, not bad, but not enough to make top 10. I don't think.
I think one thing Lego Movie has going for it that I think could be a huge thing is the release date, which is February 10th. So it has little to no competition in February. I think the only other sort of big ones that I don't know if they're not going to really compete. You have like John Wick 2, you have The Great Wall, and you have 50 Shades Darker. None of those are occupying the same space as Lego Movie, so I think it's going to have, from a kid standpoint, from an animated standpoint, it's going to have the run-of-the-mill for a little while here in the beginning of the year. So I think that's going to lead me to rank it a little bit higher than what you had it. I have it all the way up at number 6 for myself. So Lego Movie 11 for Amanda, 6 for me. What about for you, Matt?
Oh, man. So, Dan, did you have Lego Batman at number 7, too?
I do. Holy crap.
No way. Oh, man. The Lego movie...
I swear to God.
The Lego movie was number 5 for its year. This one's got Batman. It might do better. It might not do better. I had it originally at 5. I bumped it down to 7 this morning when I got really thinking on my list. That's where I've got it, number 7.
Dan, do you seriously have it at number 7?
I seriously have it at 7.
I want to drop my mic.
Dan, what's your thought process? Because I think this is one where it's hard to compare to Lego Movie because it's not it's Lego Batman. So does that help it or hurt it?
I think it helps it. I don't know. It's hard to. I think. I don't think that the Batman aspect hurts it. I think it helps it probably, but I think the first Lego Movie was just such a surprise and such a wow, that came out of nowhere that it's not going to be able to recapture that type of magic. But I think it will, it has name recognition. It looks like it's continuing that same type of humor. So, and I think that's going to help it a lot. And like you mentioned, a big reason I have it up really high is because it's coming out in a time where there's really nothing else. So it's just going to be product of elimination for people just who want to go to the movies. And it's going to be the only thing there, especially for kids. And also I have it as my highest ranked DC comic book movie. And I would think that would be amazing if that happened. So...
That's awesome. All right, so that rounds out our number 11 picks. Most of our number 10 picks have not been given away with the exception of Dan. Dan, we know you have Justice League at number 10. The rest of us have not revealed our number 10 picks, so let's start with Matt. What do you have at number 10?
A different one than Dan, because I've got Spider-Man Homecoming. The Spider-Man movies are all over the place. Just they're really hard to peg down. That said, the buzz around this trailer, I think, has been huge. Anytime it pops up in the theaters, people are laughing. People sound very interesting. I think the Spider-Man kid was beloved in Civil War. I think it's easily a top 10 movie, but I don't know that it's higher than 10 for me. So that's where I put it.
Yeah, for Spider-Man, you say that they're all over the map, but it seems like it completely depends on which iteration we're talking about, because the original 3 Spider-Man movies are fairly similar. There's only about a 60 million gap in there. They go from 330, 370, 400. Then you have the 2 Amazing ones, which were notched down 200 and 262, so they're kind of in the same camp. If $60 million makes you in the same camp, I guess, in movie terms, maybe. For me, this is obviously the first one here, but I think number 1 being a part of this Marvel universe helps it immensely. I think this is possibly going to be the biggest Spider-Man film we've ever had when it comes to the box office, so I'm going to be a little bit higher than you on this one. I'm going to have this one in my number 2 spot. I think Spider-Man is actually going to be the second biggest moneymaker because that character sells more than probably any other comic book character. it seems like. So I'm going to go with Spider-Man all the way up at number 2. Dan, we know you didn't have Spider-Man at number 10 like Matt for the first time. Where do you have it?
I'll split the difference, and I have it at 5. Similar to Matt, I was looking at, I was worried that the Amazing Spider-Man series kind of burned people out to Spider-Man. Now we're having a third Spider-Man, but he does have that tie into Marvel. People did like him in Civil War. Also have Iron Man in there as well. So I figured, it's going to be in the top 10 someplace. I didn't feel better about it to put it higher than 5, so I put it at number 5 for me.
Amanda, where are you at? We're all over the board on Spider-Man.
I got him at number 7.
Wow, we are all over the board on Spider-Man. That makes him apparently hard to predict because we got 10, 7, 5, and 2. What's your thoughts on him, Amanda?
I think there is an incredible amount of hype around it, and I think having him already debut in a super big Marvel movie really helped him, and especially having RDJ to back him and the charisma that he brings to the screen and all of his his fandom. I think it's not going to hurt it at all, and I think that the new Spider-Man is kind of a resurgence for the character. I think that is it Tom Holland? Is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to be a cool twist to it, and I'm excited.
All right, so we'll have to see exactly where Spider-Man lands because we are all over the board on this character. Amanda, it's still your turn, though, because we don't know what your number 10 is yet.
I don't know if this is a risk.
I hope so.
But the other ones make quite a bit of money, and I'm going to go with Transformers Last Night.
Transformers at number 10. That is a testament to how many films are coming out because typically Transformers is much higher territory, obviously, than that. Give us your thoughts, though, on Transformers.
I just don't. I mean, is Michael Bay involved in this one again? I'm pretty sure, right?
Yep.
I just don't have a lot of faith in him anymore. Until you give me another Bad Boys, dude, I don't want to see your crap.
Still makes money, though.
And, yeah, exactly, but it still makes money. And these are just huge films. So much goes into it. And, people are going to pour their money. A bunch of little kids are going to want to go see this. All these kids that get they're in the toy aisle, just like Kevin, and getting all the Transformers toys, they're going to want to go to this movie. So this is going to be, people with the 80s love, the nostalgia there, plus the people who have liked the other films, plus these little kids who just like the freaking toys and want to see Optimus Prime and Bumblebee and stuff. So I think that there's...
I don't think they want to see Optimus Prime kill Bumblebee, though.
Yeah, but little kids aren't going to understand that yet. So I just think there's a lot to pull people in here still.
I'm going to shoot right off this one because it's also my number 10. This is one of the reasons why Wonder Woman made it up so high for me because like Pirates of the Caribbean, for Transformers, my question is at what point does the franchise stop making money or at what point do they start the decline? And I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't think it's possible that this one's going to make as much money as the last one. Maybe I'm off my rocker on that one, but I can't see it as being the top Transformers movie. We've had 245, we've had 2 in the 300s, 1 in the 400s. I think this has got to start the decline for this franchise. It's got to start making less at some point. Maybe people are just going to always see Transformers movies forever, no matter how crappy they are, but I want it not to do as good. So it's kind of like Pirates. I think Pirates does worse. I think Transformers does worse. There's one more that I think is going to do worse, and that's why a couple of these movies have been elevated like Wonder Woman for me. So Transformers, it's weird saying it all the way at number 10 because it's usually a top 5 contender, I think, if you look back at some of the other films in the franchise. So, Matt, are we crazy for having Transformers at number 10?
Only because I put it at number 9.
Seriously?
Dang, Dan. I like Dan's list because it's a pretty good list. I mean, really, the lowest movie in the franchise was 7th place. I think downward trend is the key phrase for 2017. So I think 9th is a good spot for it. 10th isn't not terrible, but I mean, Dan's got it here with number 9.
That's so ridiculous.
Pretty much exactly my mindset as well. Yeah.
That's hilarious. We all have it at number 10 or number 9, even though the least performing one ever, like Matt just said, was number 7. So I guess we're all voting for a decline in the franchise. We'll have to wait and see if that actually.
But if you look at it, I mean, like it went from 400 million to 350 to 245. So, I mean, it has been declining, and
right.
It does not have Shia LaBeouf, and we know how much that impacts movies. So.
But doesn't it have Megan Fox again?
No, does it?
I heard something.
It does not. I don't think so.
I hope not.
All I know is the trailer's like, Optimus Prime is dead, and then it shows him dead. And then, like, 10 seconds later, it's like, Optimus Prime is stabbing everybody. It's like, why is this movie made?
We can stop trying to make logic when we're talking about Transformers. All right, so that means all of our number 10 picks are gone. 2 of our number 9 picks with Transformers for Matt and Dan are gone. We already know that Amanda has Planet of the Apes at number 9, so that means I'm the only one that has not revealed my number 9 pick. And speaking of franchises that I am going to say are maybe on the downward trend, again, I guess I should not be surprised if I'm wrong voting against these franchises, but I'm going to put the Fate of the Furious, Fast and the Furious, what is it, number 8 now? And the reason I say downward trend for the Fate of the Furious, I guess it could be a balancing act. Maybe what is gained or what is lost by the Paul Walker effect not being in effect this time will be gained by The Rock still being a part of it. But I feel like there was a lot of hype, there was a lot of buzz, obviously with the death of Paul Walker, fueled the movie to make even more than it ever had before last time. I don't know if that same effect is going to be in place, if it gained enough fans to carry and still stick at that, because usually it's in the 150 to 250 range. With that outlier up at 353, I think it kind of comes back to earth a little bit. So I only have it making 240, which would still make it the second highest Fast and the Furious film, but I don't think it's going to reach that 350 mark again. It has to make less than that, with the being a little bit further removed from all that to kind of tragedy, etc. So I have Fate of the Furious coming in at number 9. Amanda, agree or disagree?
Ah, man, I might not have done good with this one. I've got it at number 6. I hope that people see that it's super ridiculous and go see it just to laugh at these assholes at this point. I think the whole plot and everything looks retarded, but I think that it's still going to make a lot of money because there's a bunch of meathead dudes that are probably going to want to go see this.
You offended all the special needs community there.
Why?
You said the R word.
I did. My bad.
All right. Dan, what do you think about Fate of the Furious?
I also have it at number 6. I see what you're saying, but I also think that, like, I don't know. I feel like there's still some, there's a huge faction of people who do love these movies, and I think it's coming out in a time where it's crowded but not overly crowded. It still has The Rock and Vin Diesel. I do think the trailers don't look all that great, and it gets to the point, it's like, how many things can you do with cars? Like, it just seems like eventually you're going to run out of missions.
Eventually they'll make a movie without cars. They'll do it.
Yeah. Or it'll be in space or something. I mean, last time it was jumping through buildings. This one doesn't seem to... It seems to be kind of going more subtle, at least subtle for Fast and the Furious film by the sense they're not jumping out of planes or anything like that.
He's like wearing
but I still think
Army
it's going to make a lot of
armor.
money.
Is there anything about this film being the last one at all? Is that a thing that they're
No,
putting
there's
out
already
there?
they already have scheduled for 2 more after.
Oh, that's right. I forgot when they said that they're going to do like 6 more a couple years back. All right.
Jason Statham's going to be there, so it's
So that is all of our number 9 picks, with Transformers for Matt and Dan, Fast Furious for me, and Planet of the Apes for Amanda. A couple of our number 8s have already been revealed. Amanda had Thor. I had Wonder Woman, which means that both Matt and Dan have an open spot at number 8, and we can only guess that it's going to be the same film. Let's let Dan go first this time. Dan, what?
I have Despicable Me 3.
Matt?
I don't, but actually I need to point out that I have Fate of the Furious as well at number 5, 1 slot off of Dan and Amanda.
My fault.
Nah, yeah, it's okay. I'm a forgettable guy. I get it.
No, I have so much stuff written on my sheet of paper that it's becoming a chore just to see where there's open spots. But Matt, hold that thought. Then we'll get to your number 8 pick in a minute, as long as it's not Despicable Me 3. Dan, what do you think? This one was another one. It's another same old story. A 3rd, 4th, 5th movie in the franchise. At what point does it start dwindling? So what's your thought process with Despicable Me 3?
Yeah, I still think, like, 8 is pretty low for this franchise. I mean, the Minions, I thought the Minions did a lot worse than it did. It actually did much better than it ended up being. So I put it at number 8. I was a little uneasy, but I feel like animation does well. I mean, like we said, Sing made it in the top 10. So people do love these Minions. I think there's a good faction of people that hate them, but there's seems to be like, I don't know, people who can't get enough of them. So I put it at 8. It's not my highest animated film, but looking at the top, usually there's 2 to 3 animated films in the top 10, especially when a year or Pixar movie comes out. So yeah, I don't know. That's why I put it here.
Yeah, Despicable Me 3, it's an interesting thing, too, because it's not just that it's the fourth movie, but it's a situation where how long can a franchise live off of the first movie? Because the first movie was the only good one, in my opinion. Like, the first movie was the only one worth anything. And now we've had 2 films that were subpar, so does at some point that start to play into it or not? Also interesting that we obviously only look at, these are all predictions based on domestic, which I guess I should have pointed out at the beginning. These all would shift if we were talking about worldwide gross, because some of these franchises resonate much more internationally than others, and that's an interesting thing. So, like for example, like a Transformers, we would rank that much higher if we were going worldwide gross because of how much audience there is overseas for Transformers. So that's just something I wanted to point out, that we are looking at domestic gross here. So Dan has Despicable Me 3 at number 8. I have Despicable Me 3 at number 5, just a little bit higher. It's a tough one. I think being the fourth one, it's hard, but I have this one not. I have this one only making more money than one of the other films in the franchise. So I think it's going to go downward, but I think it's still going to have enough that it's going to sneak into the top 5. I have it making somewhere around 260, 275 million. Amanda, do you have Despicable Me 3 anywhere on your list?
Yeah, now I'm not feeling so good about where I have it.
Where do you have it?
Number 2.
Number 2.
I just think people go stupid nuts for these Minions. And I just don't underestimate kids going to see this crap and dragging their parents. And I think a lot of parents still like this too. Like, if you're on Facebook, how many stupid Minion memes do you see a day? Like, they're still everywhere.
Oh, I have them blocked.
You can do that because I want to know how.
Oh, you can. You have to, yeah.
He'll show you off air. But the other thing interesting about Despicable Me 3 has a release date of June 30th, 2 weeks after Cars 3, but nothing too much animated coming out big time afterwards, so maybe it'll have a long shelf life towards the end of the summer. That could play into it. Matt, you have Despicable Me 3 somewhere on your list?
Absolutely. I have Despicable Me 3 at 3 because I like things like that. I mean, they all do real well. And speaking of kids dragging their parents, I know my wife's aunt is going to drag us like she did to Minions and Zootopia. So I'm going to see this movie because I can't avoid it. So it's probably going to do well because I don't see many movies. That's my logic.
I like it. So that is the number 8 pick for Dan, but we did not yet reveal, Matt, your number 8 pick. So what do you have at number 8?
Ooh, my number 8 is Beauty and the Beast.
First time that's been mentioned.
Yeah, probably because I've got it way too low or high, or like the number's too high. It's not. I mean, just look at Jungle Book, Cinderella, Maleficent. I don't know if I even need to say anything else. These Disney live action movies do well.
I think this one too even has more hype than any of those did. I think it has more hype than Jungle Book, more hype than Maleficent, more hype than Cinderella. A lot of people, it's going to hit the right age for people that saw the animated Beauty and the Beast film. If you look at Cinderella, that made about 200 million. Look at back to the Beauty and the Beast animated film, made 218. I think it outperforms both of those. So I have it a tiny bit higher, just by one spot. I have it at number 7 because I think there's going to be a lot of hype. I think that it's going to possibly even make more than this. This has the potential of going crazy, especially since it's being released here in the spring, March 17th. It might have some legs there before all the summer blockbusters come out. Amanda, agree or disagree with our placement of Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, I got it way higher, number 4.
All right.
I think the marketing behind this has been superb. There's so much hype about it. I think that freaking Hermione's in it, so Emma Watson is going to bring some star power, as well as some of her cohorts that'll be here. And I think that it's going to be really fun. I think it's more exciting than Cinderella, and it's got more, I think, even more love than Jungle Book, if I would be so bold. So I think that the Disney power, plus some of the love for it, and of course me, I'm going to see this a couple times, I hope, because I'm going to be, all about it. So I think that it's going to do well, and I hope enough to be at number 4 at least.
All right, Dan, do you have Beauty and the Beast at 2, 3, or 4?
I have it at 2. I have Beauty and the Beast at number 2. Looking at the live-action Disney movies, not Jurassic Park, that's not a Disney movie. Jungle Book, that was number 8 last year. Cinderella did well. Even the Oz film with James Franco, that did really well. A lot of those movies have done tremendous, and this has potential just at matching those. It has the additional factor that it has 90s nostalgia. Wow. I sound like I should have a tooth out behind it. It's also being adapted probably from one of the best, most notoriety, one of the best reviewed, the first animated film ever to be nominated for Best Picture with Beauty and the Beast. So there's that, and my wife's even excited about it. She doesn't usually get excited from films, so I feel like there's a lot more buzz for this. So I think it has a lot of things going for it, and then you add in the fact that it's coming out when there's not much else out, and it kind of can linger and just rank in the bank. So I have it at number 2.
All right, so that means we're going to be able to skip ahead a little bit here. We just revealed our number 8 picks, which for Matt was Beauty and the Beast, Amanda was Thor, Dan was Despicable Me 3, and myself was Wonder Woman. We've all revealed our 7, 6, and 5. So for 7, Matt had Lego Batman, Dan had Lego Batman, Amanda had Spider-Man, and I had Beauty and the Beast. For our number 6 picks, Matt had Pirates of the Caribbean, Amanda and Dan both had Fast and the Furious movie, and I had Lego Batman. For our number 5 picks, Matt had Fast and the Furious, Dan had Spider-Man, Amanda had Pirates of the Caribbean, and I had Despicable Me 3. For our number 4 picks, Matt, you had Justice League, I had Justice League as well. Amanda, you had Beauty and the Beast. Dan, we have not revealed your number 4 pick. I don't think.
Weird that it's weird this hasn't come up yet, but I'm gonna go with Pixar's Coco. In Pixar, I trust when they have a movie, it's well reviewed, it does really well, and it's another original property. Inside Out did amazing, so that's why I went with it for number 4.
I thought when I saw Coco, I thought that was going to be about like Coco Chanel, so I just kind of looked over it. I didn't even.
No, it's the next Pixar film, but I have heard nothing about it yet. Pixar films do well. I just wasn't sure if there's going to be enough marketing and enough. I was trying to find something to compare it to. I went to like Book of Life and a couple things like that, but I know it's not fair because those aren't Pixar films. I had no idea what to do with Coco, so I ended up leaving it off. But Dan, you're probably right. It's both animated and Pixar, so I'm probably a fool for that. I believe Amanda left it off hers. Matt, did you leave Coco off of yours?
Yeah, right up there with what you were saying. It could be Moana, and it could be the Good Dinosaur, which I feel like I have the same amount of knowledge of both of those movies at this time of year as I did that one. So like I stayed away rather than risking it.
All right, so interesting. Dan will gain tons of points if Coco makes the top 15 over all of us. So that means that we each only have 1 slot empty. Well, technically 2 slots empty, so I can already know basically how the rest is going to go. So we'll just kind of tell it what it is, and then we can talk about it. Matt, you have Despicable Me 3, which has already been revealed as your number 3. Amanda, Dan, and myself, I don't think this is a stretch. We all, and if I'm wrong, you guys can correct me, but we all have Guardians of the Galaxy at number 3.
Yeah.
Dan?
I do, yes.
All right,
yes.
So we all have Guardians of the Galaxy at number 3, which means that, Matt, you have Guardians of the Galaxy at your number 2, correct?
Got it in 1.
All right, and then the rest of the number 2 picks were Despicable Me 3 for Amanda, Beauty and the Beast for Dan, and Spider-Man for myself. So let's go back and talk about Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or number 2. We all had it at our 2nd or 3rd spot. So Dan, Guardians of the Galaxy outranking a lot of other comic book films on most of our list here. Outside of myself, we all have it as the highest comic book film. So speak to that a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's Marvel, and Marvel has an amazing track record. They pretty much always have a movie in the top five. Guardians of the Galaxy, the last one, did amazing, and it's coming back for another installment. Trailers have looked steady. I was a little worried because the last time it came out in August, so I think that benefited it a lot. So that was a little hesitant, but I don't know. I think a lot of people love Guardians, and Groot has become like this marketing machine, and now we have Baby Groot, and so it's that's why I had it at number 3.
It comes out May 5th, and there's not really a ton of competition in the month of May. We have Pirates of the Caribbean much later at May 26th. We have stuff like Baywatch May 26th, Alien Covenant at May 19th. No other big blockbuster coming out in May, because I don't think we're going to consider King Arthur Legend of the Sword a blockbuster on May 12th. So could have an entire month kind of to go crazy. Matt, Guardians of the Galaxy beating out the likes of Wonder Woman, Thor, Justice League, Spider-Man, even if you want to throw Lego Batman. There's 7 comic book films, and you have that as your highest grossing one. Why is that?
I mean, if you asked me 3 years ago, they say, hey, the cosmic Marvel characters are going to get an action comedy movie and it's going to be huge, I'd be like, no. But that last movie was amazing. It was just Star Wars in the Marvel universe. Like, I loved it. And this trailer that has come out for it is also just like grabbing everyone. The buzz is huge. The hype is real. It's going to do very well, and I might go see it multiple times, which is something I usually only do for Star Wars.
Yeah, I'm the only one that has a comic book movie ahead of it because for some reason I put Spider-Man one spot ahead of it, so we'll have to see how that works out. Amanda, Guardians of the Galaxy, why so much love? You're a DC fan, you like Justice League and Wonder Woman. Guardians of the Galaxy makes more?
Doesn't mean that I can't appreciate a good comic book movie. And I think that everybody loved Guardians. And I think that this next installment is definitely going to, punch us in the face again with some really awesome stuff. I think the effects are going to be solid. I think the story is going to be great. I think it's really going to tie into everything super well. And, of course, Baby Groot, little teenage Groot, causing some havoc and stealing the show a little bit. I think it's going to be cool. I think there's going to be some really awesome stuff with their team dynamic now that they're already a team and going. So I think it's going to be all around super great, and it's definitely going to make some money.
All right, so a lot of love for Guardians of the Galaxy on the panel. And, of course, there is technically one spot left on all of our list, and that is the number 1 spot. I don't think we should waste any time talking about it or explaining our reasons why. It's a runaway. If it is not number 1, I don't know what would happen to the universe. But Star Wars Episode 8 will be everybody's number 1, and I guess if we were to go by numbers, I would say that it's going to double what number 2 makes. Like, that's how much I don't even think it's going to be close. If you put Spider-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy or Despicable Me 3 or Beauty and the Beast, which we all have at number 2, you can give that movie $400 million. Star Wars is easily going to do $800, I think. So I don't. It's not that it's not even going to be close. It's probably going to double the number 2 spot. Agree or disagree, Matt?
Oh, easily. I mean, if we don't compare it to Rogue One because that's a standalone, we compare it to Force Awakens. That made what 800, 900 million. This might
936.
This one might break the billion in the domestic mark. Honestly, like that last one was huge, and I you can't say the hype's the same. It didn't have a decade with no movie, but
but it might have more hype actually.
It might
because you're going to get Luke Skywalker in a big role. We just had the death of Carrie Fisher. I think this has a legit chance of beating or breaking the $1 billion domestic barrier. I think it's going to be that much, especially with as much love as Rogue One got. People don't seem to be tiring because of the year thing. So I think it has the potential to break that barrier. Dan, what do you think?
I don't know. I think it'll do well, but I think it's, for whatever reason, like usually when it comes to a film like that, like the first installment, The Return, does really well, but the second one doesn't have the same impact. So maybe, but I think it certainly will crush whatever's number 2. But I think it might not even reach that of Force Awakens. I could be wrong, but I think sometimes there's something to be said about that, like the return of something after a long period of time, and there's that excitement that is hard to recapture again. But it's possible. Looking at, like, say, comparing it to Avengers versus Avengers: Age of Ultron or something like that, and how it was hard to recapture that magic again. So that's my only reasoning of why I think it won't match Force Awakens or beat Force Awakens.
I would typically agree with you if it was not for the way that Force Awakens ended and how much people wanted to see Mark Hamill, and they just got that little tease at the end. So I'm banking on the fact that they know they're going to get a movie where he's going to play a much bigger part, and the combination of maybe Luke and Rey being most of the screen time might negate that. But I understand what you're saying, because I normally would say the same thing. I just think that maybe this one will be an exception to that. Amanda, what do you think?
I really don't know how it's going to match up to the others, but I do know that the trend is that, based on the other episode 7, that this is going to be better than that. We sat through episode 7, we're completely enthralled, went on this roller coaster ride, but it also set up what's going to happen in episode 8. So I think people are going to be super geared up for this, and there's going to be people like Matt who've seen it 12 times in the theater, and I think that it's really going to have some staying power in the box office too. People are going to keep seeing it week after week.
It's kind of interesting, because if you take the other two trilogies, they both went a different route. I mean, if you have A New Hope, that was not, I don't have the financials ahead of me, maybe I'm talking ignorantly here, but the second and the third one did better than A New Hope, I believe, by a good margin, if I'm remembering right, which was a completely different thing than what you got with the prequel trilogy, where the first one was, like Dan said, you waited so long, and then episode 1 came out and it was just huge, and episode 2 and 3 weren't able to meet that mark. So it's going to be interesting to see which trilogy it lines up better with. But like I said, I don't have those numbers in front of me, so I don't want to say that that's a fact. All right, so those are our top 15. We're not going to go back through and re-say all of our 15, but we will put it on the episode post. So if you're trying to look back and see how our lists match up against each other, first you know that Matt and Dan's match up better than anybody else's, but you can look at the episode post to see what the actual 15 were. There was some differences that we had. Obviously, Matt, you're the only one with Pitch Perfect 3 on your list. Amanda, you're the only one with Kingsman, the sequel, on your list. Dan, you're the only one with Blade Runner, Dark Tower, and Coco. So you have the chance there to gain a lot of points if those are not on our list and make the top 15. I guess I'm the weird one that didn't take any chances, because every one of my films is on at least one of your guys' list. So real quick, though, what just missed? Because we did have, like I said, 7 comic book movies coming out, and none of us ranked one of them in the top 15. So we'll have to see if that was an honorable mention for any of you or not. Amanda, do you have any that just missed your list?
Alien Covenant, 50 Shades Darker, since there's some people who like that movie for some reason. John Wick 2, Logan, and Ghost in the Shell.
And Logan would be that other comic book film that apparently was getting no love from us as far as making it into the top 15. Last 2 Wolverine films made $132 million and $179. Was it close for you, Dan, or what were your other honorable mentions?
I also thought about Dunkirk. I was curious where that might land. World War II drama. That's hard to determine. Like I mentioned, Cars 3 was probably my 16th. And also thought about The Mummy. It's hard. Like those Mummy movies in the 90s did really well. It's a lot different people, different franchise. But one thing I could see, that working well. And also Tom Cruise hasn't really had the best of luck recently, so that's why I didn't rank it any higher.
Yeah, for my the ones that were closest, I guess, if you were to go like 16 through 20 or something like that, I didn't count them exactly, but I had Logan next up. It would have been my number 16. I had The Mummy, like Dan said. Dunkirk, I also had in the next group of 5. World War II, I don't think it's going to necessarily reach Saving Private Ryan territory, but if you look at Christopher Nolan, his films make a lot of money. Interstellar made 180, so I can see Dunkirk being in that 150 to 175 range. Then I had 50 Shades Darker, Kingsman's The Golden Circle, and then the 2 animated films that I just couldn't get a gauge on. Coco, like Dan said, would have been in my next group. And then, I don't know, is the Emoji Movie going to make money out of nowhere? The only ones I could compare it to was like something like The Angry Birds or maybe Trolls, which One made 100, one made 150, so I was all over the map on Emoji Movie, so I didn't rank it at all. But those were the ones that would have been kind of next up in my conversation. Matt, what about you?
So most of my ones have been mentioned: Alien Covenant, The Mummy, Kong, Logan. Some quick ones that haven't got mentioned. I considered the new Triple X movie because the other ones did, okay. I also considered Power Rangers. It looks like a superhero movie. It looks like a terrible superhero movie, but that didn't stop Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman. And it's, again, 90s appeal is huge right now. And then the other 90s appeal movie that I considered but did not put on was Baywatch. I don't know what to think of that.
The Rock makes a lot of money, man. San Andreas, 155. Central Intelligence, 127. Baywatch, who knows? All right, so those are the ones that just missed our list. You'll have to let us know if you agree or disagree with our picks, and maybe we'll put a poll up to let you vote on which one you think is going to be the most accurate when it comes time to do this next year. So that is it for the box office. We'll be back next week with an episode on most anticipated. Some crossover between box office, possibly, but that gives us a chance, too, to talk about those films that are attracting us or making us anxious for their release, more so based on plot, actors, directors that are involved, storylines, that type of thing. So it'll be interesting when we get to the most anticipated. That'll be the next episode coming up. Hopefully you're enjoying our look back, look ahead series. And we'll be back, obviously, once these are over, getting back into wrapping up our Hayao Miyazaki spotlight, our video game spotlight, and revealing our personal favorite 100 films as we've been doing towards the end of 2016. If you want to get in contact with us before that, you can do that through Twitter. The show Twitter is at Cinema Geekcast. My Twitter is at Optimus Solo. Amanda, your Twitter is?
At Hard Candy Mandy, eyes, no lies.
Dan, your Twitter is?
At Movie Revolt.
Matt, your Twitter is?
I am at Fridley Sen.
And as always, you can always go to the website, geekcastradio.com, find the episode post, comment there, and we will definitely reply to your comments there as well. So we will see you next week when we talk about the most anticipated films of 2017.